Uh, Hello, good evening to everyone. This is Dr. Vartya Jagan, working as a associate professor in BBIT. So, in this lecture, I'm going to explain about the speed control of separate excited DC motor fed from semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. So, in the last video, I have explained about the thyristor control drives, the basic block diagram, and the components which are there in the electrical drive system. So the 5 components are there, like 6 components are there, like source, power modulator, motor, load, sensing unit, and control unit. Right. So in this lecture, I am going to explain about this what is called speed control of separate excited DC motor fed from semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. First, we'll consider the semi-controlled converter, then we'll go for the fully controlled converter. Right, then we are going to see the torque speed characteristics at different firing angle. Right, so let me directly go to that page. Right, this is single phase that comes under single phase drives. So now we are going to discuss about single phase separate excited DC motor drive. Now you can see the equivalent circuit. This is the electrical equivalent of a separately excited DC motor armature circuit. So where basically if you don't have this one, directly you may have the armature like this, right, where it is having two brushes A and AA armature terminals, right. So now this is and field is connected to separate DC source here, I can see. So here it is a single phase AC supply, right, and this AC is converted into DC using diode bridge rectifier. Okay, so since we are using diode here, so whatever voltage you apply, let us say 230 volts AC voltage, then directly that will convert 230 source from 210 volts or 220 volts. And you cannot control this 210 volts because we are using uncontrolled device. So you will get the uncontrollable voltage, which is 210 always. So if the voltage is constant, then the field current is constant. If the field current is constant, field flux is constant, right? So which means it is a constant flux motor, right? Now this electrical circuit, you can see this electrical armature circuit of a DC motor is replaced by electrical equivalent circuit. Now here you can see RA, LA are the armature resistance and armature inductance of the DC motor, and EG is the back EMF. Here you can see the back EMF, right? So this is under steady state condition. Now to control the speed of this motor, we need to control the voltage applied to it. So EA is the voltage which is given to the armature terminal of the DC motor, right? So if you vary this EA using either semi-controlled converter or fully controlled converter, you can control the speed of this DC motor, right? Now the converter can be a semi-controlled converter or it can be a fully controlled converter. As per your JNT syllabus, it is mentioned that there are only 2 converters they are using, right? So now so let me go to the next slide, where you can see some basic equations of a separately excited DC motor, right? The back EMF generated in the armature of a DC machine can be written as EG, generated voltage, equal to phi ZNP by 60A, right? Where phi is the flux per pole in Weber, N is the N is the armature speed in RPM capital N, Z is the number of armature conductor, P is the number of poles, A is the number of parallel path. So if you see all these things here, for a designed machine, the number of poles is constant. For a designed machine, the number of armature conductor is also constant. Number of parallel path also constant, right? And 60 is also constant factor. So that means This factor, I am replacing this constant with some Ka. You can see ZP divided by 60, which is a constant value. We'll get some value, right? And so you can write Eg equal to some phi n into Ka, where K is the constant value, right? So this is the back EMF induced in the DC motor armature terminal, right? Now, the torque expression also we are going to see. When a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force that is called torque, right? And this torque is due to electromagnetic effect. Hence, it is called electromagnetic torque, right? And the mechanical power developed by the machine is given by P equal to the output power, the mechanical speed in radians per second into the torque. From this one, I can write torque equal to P by omega, where omega equal to 2 pi n, and n is the armature speed, which is in revolution per second, right? So the relation between small and capital N will be something like this: n equal to n capital N divided by 60. So which will give the value in revolution per second, right? So now, P, I can write it as the back EMF into the current flow into the armature winding. So you can see instead of P, it is EA, EG into IA divided by 2 pi N, right? And EG, just now we have seen the last slide that EG equal to 5 Z N P divided by 60A, right? Now you can substitute the value of EG here in this case, right? So here you can see 5 Z N P divided by 60A into IA divided by 2 pi L. And N you can write it as capital small n equal to capital N divided by 60, right? So n by 60 in the denominator, n by 60 in the numerator will get cancelled, right? So now you can write torque equal to 5 Z P divided by 2 pi A into I. Okay, where I can see the number of armature conductor Z is constant for a designed machine. The number of poles is also constant. The number of parallel path A is also constant. 2 pi is also constant. So this constant factor I can write it as KB, right? Where KB equal to ZP divided by 2 pi A. So now totally you can write a torque which is equal to KB phi into IA. So which means torque is depends upon the armature current and the flux, whereas speed is depends upon Ka phi into N. Back EMF depends upon, right? So these are the two basic equations, and now we are going to see the torque speed characteristics of a separately excited DC motor, right? And these are the back EMF, instantaneous back EMF you can see, the average back EMF, torque, and the average developed torque. These are the expression already we have derived. And the motor armature is connected like this to a controlled converter, which may be semi-controlled converter, which may be full controlled converter. So depending upon which converter you are using, EA will depend, right? So now these are the armature terminal A and EA. Okay, now you can replace this armature with electrical equivalent circuit. So to represent an electrical equivalent circuit, this armature is represented by RA, it is the armature resistance, right? LA, which is the armature inductance, and the back EMF EG, right? So now you can apply KVL in this loop for the electrical equivalent circuit. Now if I write KVL, the applied voltage should be equal to drop across the armature resistance, drop across the inductance, plus the back EMF. Same thing you can see, EA equal to drop across the armature resistance IARA, drop across the inductance LA DI by dt, plus drop across the back EMF EG, right? But inductor does not observe any average voltage across it. So the average voltage across the inductor should goes to 0. So the average voltage will be EA equal to this factor will goes to 0 because the current is constant. Because the DC voltage we are applying, so the current is also constant. So the rate of change of constant value that will goes to 0. So this factor will goes to 0. The remaining factor will be IARA into EG, right? Where EG is the back EMF, and EG you can write it as EG in terms of E and IA. It is EA minus IARA, right? And just now we have seen in the last slide, here also you can see EG equal to KFI into N. So you can write instead of Eg, it is KFI into N. And from this one, I can write the speed in revolution per second, revolution per minute will be EA minus IARA divided by KA5. So now, armature current is depends upon the load, right? And armature resistance is always constant because for a designed machine, the armature resistance is constant, right? And depending upon whether you are using separate excited machine or series machine, the flux value changes. Since we are dealing about the semi-controlled converter with separate excited DC motor, right? So for separate excited machine, the field is connected to separate DC source. So since the voltage is constant, the field current is constant. If the field current is constant, this flux is also constant, which means the overall conclusion is that if you want to vary the speed, the only controlling parameter is EA. So depending upon which converter we are using, the EA depends. So in case of semi-controlled converter, it will be Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha. In case of fully controlled converter, EA will be 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. So now by varying the alpha, you can control the speed. That is what we are going to see here in this lecture video now, right? So now we are going to vary the firing angle to a controlled converter, which may be semi-controlled converter or fully controlled converter. So EA can be varied. If EA varies, then you can vary the speed, right? Now let us see. Now this is a electrical equivalent circuit. Again, you can see here for a separate excited DC motor, right? Now see. So now here it is a single phase AC supply 230 volts with 50 Hz frequency, Indian standard frequency 50 Hz, right? So here the input to the converter is a AC. Okay, then here you can see it is a controlled converter because we are using controlled element in it. Okay, so now since I can say it is a symmetrical semi-controlled converter because leg A is having one thyristor S1 and one diode D1. Similarly, leg B is having one thyristor S2 and one thyristor D2. So each leg is having equal amount of diodes and thyristors. So it is called symmetrical semi-controlled converter, right? So now it is single phase supply, semi-controlled converter. Here you can see semi-controlled converter. Thereafter, it is connected to separate excited DC motor. So now you can see this is the separate excited DC motor. Okay, where this I can represent the electrical equivalent circuit of a armature. And now the field winding is connected to separate DC source VDC2, and it is a constant. So the field current is constant. If field current is constant, field flux is also constant, right? So now it is just like a armature voltage control techniques. So where we have seen in case of conventional speed control techniques, to control the armature voltage, we have inserted the resistance rheostat in between the constant DC voltage and the armature terminal of the DC motor, right? If you recall the previous class lecture video, right? Now instead of that rheostat potential divider, we are replacing that with the semi-controlled converter here, and you can achieve any amount of voltage across the armature terminal. So depending upon the firing angle given to the converter, this is what our converter. So depending upon the firing angle alpha given to the converter, EA will vary. EA is applied across the armature terminals of the DC motor, let us say X and Y, right? So EA will change. If EA changes, then the back EMF will change. If back EMF changes, the speed can be changed, right? So now we are going to see that relation. So now before going to do that, let us see what is the output voltage and output current, input current waveforms for the symmetrical semi-controlled converter, right? Here you can see here. Again, I am going to draw here the symmetrical semi-controlled converter, which consists of thyristor S1 and diode D1. This is leg A. This forming leg A. and one more leg. Here it is thyristor S2 and diode D2. So this is what leg B, and it is connected to the armature of a DC motor, right? Field winding is connected to separate DC source, right? So I'm not going to draw the field winding which is fed from semi-controlled converter. Now, leg A is connected to phase, leg B is connected to neutral point, right? So this is the equivalent circuit. Now, so which means to this controlled converter, you will be having one freewheeling diode also. I will come to that point, right? So to this controlled converter, we are getting the controllable voltage after this one, let us say EA, right? So that can be achieved with the help of by varying the fire angle alpha. So to this converter, we are applying sinusoidal voltage. You can see the input voltage, which is V equal to Vm sin omega t. So now here this V equal to Vm sin omega t. That means at different values of omega t, the V will be different. So at 0 degrees, it is sin 0, it is 0. At 90 degrees, it is maximum. So you can make V max. At 180 degrees, it is again 0. At 270 degrees, you will get minus V max. Here you can see. At 300 degrees, it is again 0. So we are applying sinusoidal voltage to the converter. Now load is having the back EMF. These waveforms are for steady state condition. So now, the back EMF is changing like this, let us say. Okay, now we need to observe a few more points here. It is just like a RLE. Now at this particular point, the input voltage, input instantaneous voltage V and the back EMF EG, they are intersecting here. So now let us say the intersecting point is theta1. Similarly, at this particular point also, both input voltages and the battery voltages, they are intersecting at this particular point. Now this is during positive half cycle. The negative waveform will be something like this, which is phase replaced by 180 degree. Okay. Now again, you can see two more points here. At this particular point, the back EMF and the input voltage are intersecting. Let us say theta3. Here also, the back EMF and input voltage, they are intersecting. Let us say theta4. Right. Now, to transfer the power from source to load, source is a single phase supply here. So to transfer the power from source to load, because load is a motor, so load requires the electrical supply. So to control the speed, we are converting this single phase supply to a DC voltage required for this DC motor, right? So now the input voltage should be at higher potential. Now between theta1 and theta2, if you see the waveforms, between theta1 and theta2, between omega t equal to 0 to theta1, between 0 to theta, this point I'm talking about. So here the instantaneous voltage, input instantaneous voltage is less, you can see here, when compared to the battery voltage. That means the battery voltage is more than the input voltage, right? So even if you apply triggering pulse to the converter before this point theta1, so that power transfer is not possible because the battery is having more voltage when compared to the input voltage, instantaneous voltage. So power cannot transfer from lower potential to higher potential. It will transfer only when the input is having higher potential than the load, right? One more point you can observe here. One more point here. Between theta1 and theta2, you can see the instantaneous voltage more when compared to the battery voltage. So you can say the battery voltage less when compared to the input voltage V. So this is between theta1 to theta2. So now I can transfer the power from source to load during this theta1 and theta2 time intervals. Again, after theta2 and pi, you can see the instantaneous input voltage less when compared to the input voltage. So just like this one where the back EMF is more than the input voltage. The same thing you can observe during the negative half cycle also. So from pi to theta 3, now I will mention those points here. So during this interval, the instantaneous voltage less when compared to the battery voltage. So just write here, when omega t is in between pi and theta 3, back EMF is more than the input voltage, right? Again, from theta 3 to theta 4, you can see the instantaneous voltage more even compared to the battery voltage. So when omega t is in between theta 3 and theta 4, the back EMF is less when compared to the input voltage. So if you want to transfer the negative half cycle to positive half cycle, right? The alpha should be in between theta 3 and theta 4, right? And after theta 4 and in between 2 pi, omega t equal 2 pi, the battery voltage is more when compared to the input voltage. So that is the same case where you can see the battery voltage more when compared to input voltage. So the overall conclusion is that the firing angle should lie between theta 2 and theta 3, between theta 1 and theta 2 during this interval, or between theta 3 and theta 4, right? So that is why you can see the point here. The firing angle is applied to the converter which is in forward bias condition. So during positive half cycle from 0 to pi, so P will be at higher potential positive, N will be at lower potential negative. So now you can see if that is the case, S1, D2, they are in forward bias condition because anodes of them are connected to positive and cathodes of them are connected to negative, right? And whereas S2 and S1, S2 and D1, they are in reverse bias condition because anodes of them are connected to negative, cathodes are connected to positive. So you can say they are in reverse bias condition. They are in reverse bias condition. Now, at the moment D2 is in forward bias condition, it will conduct no doubt. But to get closed path from the source to load a bank to the source, the switch S1 should be conducted, right? It should be in conduction state. So now at alpha equal to omega, at omega t equal to alpha, you can see here. So S1 is triggered where alpha is more than theta 1. Here it is theta 1. It is just after theta 1, right? So from that particular point onward, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. So it will suddenly goes to the maximum value and then it will follow the input voltage. The same thing you can see the input output voltage of a semi-controlled converter is this much. Now you may have one doubt, then what is the purpose of this freewheeling diode? Now let me go to the electrical equivalent circuit of this DC motor, right? So if you draw the electrical equivalent circuit, it will be having resistance, inductance, and back EMF. So when S1, D1, they are in conduction state, let me draw the current wave, current direction. So it is leaving from P positive through S1 anode and cathode, resistance RA, inductance LA, battery through diode D to anode and cathode and back to the negative supply. So this is the direction of current. And if that is the case, inductor is charging with this polarity positive and negative, right? That is why you can see the current is charging like this. The output current is charging, right? So now it is charging to some extent. That depends upon the value of inductor. Now during discharging condition, what happens? During discharging condition, the inductor has to discharge its energy. So before discharging its energy to load or to battery, it has to replace its polarity. So now plus become minus, minus will become plus, right? So if that is the case, then let us see what happens. So inductor has to discharge energy. It is discharging through the battery, and now this is connected to anode of this diode. So diode will be in forward bias condition and it will conduct and it is replaced by short circuit, right? So this is the direction of current where the input is driving zero current because now load is capable of having only the discharging current of the inductor. So now one more thing you can see that diode is short circuited by the it is short circuited. That means you will get EA as the zero. That is why you can say after pi, just after omega t equal to pi, the output voltage equals zero because the load is short circuited by the freewheeling diode, right? So same thing you can see during negative half cycle. So during negative half cycle, P should be connected to negative and N should be connected to positive, right? Which means thyristors S1 and D2 they are in reverse bias condition. They will be in reverse bias condition. Let me draw the circuit so that you will get understand. You will get some idea, some more idea, right? So now here we are having the switch S2, which is a thyristor, and here we are having the diode D1, right? So now do negative half cycle. Now this will become negative, and here it will become positive. So if that is the case, S1 D2 they are in reverse bias condition because the anodes of them are connected to positive and cathodes are connected to negative, right? So now at the moment diode it is in forward bias condition, no doubt it will conduct, right? But we need to trigger the S2 to get the closed path from the current source to load, right? So S2 should be triggered after theta 3. So here you can see somewhere here, you may see the theta 3 value. So now you can see S2 is triggered at pi plus alpha, right? That is why if you draw the waveform like this, negative half cycle. So from this particular point onward, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. So you can see it is following the input voltage, right? That is why you can see the voltage across the load is like this, right? So now current always leaves from positive terminal. So when I trigger S2, the current will use from N positive through S2 anode and cathode, R, L, battery, diode D1 anode and cathode back to the P negative. So this is the direction of current where the inductor is charging with this polarity positive and negative, right? It is charging the polarity with this polarity, right? So at the moment, which means up to 2 pi, you will get this portion. And just after 2 pi, the inductor has to discharge. Now you can see a charging current when it is connected to source. Now it is discharging. So during discharging condition, the first point inductor has to do, it has to replace this polarity. The polarity will negative, positive like this. Negative will become positive, positive will become negative. Now, to get the current, the circulating current, or you can say, during this interval, positive is connected to anode of D, DW, differential diode. Diode will conduct and you will get the current like this. So there is a load current. The load current is there, which is a discharging current. That's why you can say the discharging current here. But the output voltage equals 0 because the load here in between terminal X and Y, it is the output voltage, which is 0 because it is short circuited by the diode. So you'll get 0 output current, right? Again, if you want to see the input current, so whenever S1 and D1 they are in D2 they are in conduction state, they will carry some current. When the freewheeling diode is in conduction state, now this rectifier is completely isolated. So it won't, all the devices they are in on off condition, you will get 0 current from the output, from the input. So you'll get 0 current here, right? Similarly, when S2 and D1 they are in conduction state, you can expect a negative input current. Then after 2 pi, the freewheeling diode comes into picture. You can see here freewheeling diode, and freewheeling diode, right? So during freewheeling action, the current is a discharging current. You can see it is a discharging current, but the voltage will become 0. So you can say 0 voltage, right? And you can see during negative half cycle, you will get negative input current because input is a AC one. That is why you can say positive and negative, right? So this at alpha equal to 60 degrees. Now you can also get any amount of the voltage by varying the firing angle given to it. So now these are waveforms. So we draw it alpha equal 60 degrees. Now let us say alpha equal to 80. So alpha 80 is this is 90. So alpha 80 means it will be somewhere else here, right? So you will get only this portion. Okay, if you trigger symmetrical, you will get only this portion. And the current waveform, the area will reduce because we are increase the firing angle alpha. So this is the output current waveform at alpha equal to some 90 degrees. Okay, now if you know the output voltage waveform, you can easily calculate what is the output voltage expression for the given waveforms. So now we'll see the derivation of average output voltage. You know, just now we have seen between omega t equal to alpha to pi, you can say alpha to pi, it is we are having some voltage E across it, right? Now between pi and pi plus alpha, so during this interval pi and pi plus alpha, so there is output voltage equal 0. That is why you can see instead of E, I have mentioned it as 0, right? And due to symmetrical waveform, because the positive half cycle is same as the negative half cycle. So due to symmetrical, now you can see this portion is same as this portion. So due to symmetrical, the average output voltage I can calculate only for the positive half cycle. So which is of pi duration. So average output voltage during for positive half cycle will be 1 by pi, because we are considering only the one half cycle, and it is varying with respect to omega t, Vm sin omega t. So you can say sin omega t. Now it is just take the Vm common, so it will be Vm by pi. Integration of sin omega t, it will be minus cos omega t. The limits are from alpha to pi, because we are getting the output voltage from alpha to pi. So if you substitute this expression there, you can see Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha. So this is for half controlled rectifier. Half controlled rectifier or symmetrically semiconductor controlled, symmetrical semiconductor controlled device, right? So now let us go to the derivation, this thing, variation of the firing angle alpha and the output voltage. Now you can see here in this expression, if I substitute alpha equals 0, so cos 0 it is 1, 1 plus 1 it is 2, it is 2m by pi. So here you can see our value where alpha equals 0 and it is 2m by pi. Now at alpha equal 90 degrees, so cos 90 it is 0, so it is Vm by pi. So you can say at 90 degrees you will get it is Vm by pi. Similarly at alpha equal 180 degrees, so cos 180 is minus 1 plus 1 will goes to 0, so you'll get the 0 output voltage. So where alpha equal to 180 degrees. So now for different values of firing angle, you may get the curve like this. So which means we are decreasing E, average output voltage across the load, by increasing the firing angle. You can see here it is this much, here it is half of, here it is completely 0, right? So now let us go for the basic equations which are derived in the last slides. So now this is the speed expression, which is EA by EA minus IARA divided by KFI, where EA is the armature voltage of a separately excited DC motor. So now instead of EA, I can substitute Vm by pi cos alpha. The same thing you can see here, it is Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha minus IARA divided by KFI, right? For separately excited DC motor, the flux is constant. Then I can write torque equal to KB flux into IA, or in other words, IA equal to torque divided by KFI. Because here we need to convert the speed into some other known factors, right? So if I substitute here, it is Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha divided by 2 pi KFI IA. So this is what the first term, minus RA into what is IA here? IA equal torque divided by KB5 here. So already in the denominator KFI is there. So KFI into 5. So Ka KB 5 square into RA. So now RA is constant, Ka is constant, KB is also constant, phi is constant, pi is constant, Vm is also constant, input voltage we are not changing. Now the speed can be changed only by varying the firing angle alpha, right? So now let us see for different values of firing angle what is happening. Now here you can see here alpha equal to 0, right? We have seen it is 2m by pi cos alpha. So for different values of for given values of LA and RA, the speed may be something here, and same you will get for fully controlled converter also. Now as I told you, if I increase the firing angle alpha, the reduction in the voltage, terminal voltage. So now if the reduction in terminal voltage is less, then the back EMF will be less. If back EMF is less, you know what happens? The speed will be low, right? So now if I increase the firing angle alpha, so what happens if I increase this one? Again the VMA will fall down, then EF will fall down. So you'll get the torque speed characteristics like this. Similarly, at alpha equal to 90 degrees, cos 90, it is 0. This Vm by pi cos alpha, right? So here it will be Vm by pi cos alpha into 1 by KFI, and this factor will come into picture. So for different values of firing angle alpha, you can achieve any amount of speed. Now let us say if my load is constant, which is 8 Newton meter, right? So for this constant load, I want to run this load at different speeds, right? If I want to operate at a speed called 1800 RPM, then I should apply alpha equals 0. Similarly, if I want to operate the motor at this alpha equals 60 degrees, then you may get the speed is less than or equal to 1500 RPM. Similarly, for alpha equal to 90 degrees, you may get only half of, right? So for a given load, you can achieve any amount of speed by using the semi-converter control devices, right? So this is about fully controlled semi-controlled converter. Now we'll go for fully controlled converter, where only the converter is replaced by fully controlled converter. Semi-controlled converter is replaced by fully controlled converter. Here you can see it is fully controlled converter. In case of semi-controlled converter, here it will be having D1, here will be having D2, and it is a control device, uncontrolled devices, right? Now, just we are replacing the semi-controlled converter with fully controlled converter. You can see single phase, here it is single phase, right? You can say fully controlled converter. This box will show you the fully controlled converter connected to separate excited DC motor. So here we will be having DC armature electrical equivalent circuit with RA, LA, EG. Then if I want to vary the speed of the separate excited DC motor, now here we are not varying the flux, because flux field winding is provided with a constant voltage V2. If the voltage is constant, field current is constant. If the field current is constant, flux is constant. So now it is just like armature voltage control, where we are going to vary the EA through this fully controlled converter firing in alpha, right? So let us go to the next slide. Then we will find here. Here you can see, okay, the same thing which I discussed in last class. Between theta 1 and theta 2, you can apply the firing angle. Similarly, between theta 3 and theta 4 also you can apply the firing pulse, right? Now, S1 and S2, they are 3 are there. Let me draw the equivalent circuit again. So these are the two diodes, thyristors, right? And it is connected to armature of the DC motor, right? Field winding is connected to somewhere else with constant voltage across it. So if the field current is constant, flux is also constant. Now this is leg A, which is connected to phase, leg B, which is connected to phase leg neutral point, right? So now to get the power from source to load, two devices should be in on condition, one from the leg A, one from the leg B. So during positive half cycle, P will be positive and N will be negative. So if that is the case, switch S1, it is in forward bias condition. S3 is also in forward bias condition. So we need to trigger these two devices at the same time, so that I can get the closed path for the current to flow from source to load and back to the source. Now P positive, which is at higher potential, S1 anode and cathode, motor A and A, right? S3 anode and cathode and back to the supply. So this is the direction of current which is flowing from source to load and back to the source, right? So that means at the moment you apply the triggering pulse to S1 and S3 at the same time, here you can see from that particular point onward, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. No doubt it is following, right? And if you see the voltage across the load is also following like this. But you may have one doubt here. Sir told me that in the last slide where we have used a semi-controlled converter, there is no negative peak, but here you will get negative peak. Why? Because since the inductor, if you draw the electrical equivalent circuit of a armature of a machine, so it will be RA, LA, and the battery, right? So now during this charging period, when it is connected to source to the fully controlled converter, the inductor is charging like this, right? Now if you want to discuss if I want to run the motor during discharging period, the inductor has to discharge its energy, right? Before discharging the energy to the load, it has to replace its polarity. So positive, negative, negative will become positive, positive will become negative. Now here we will be having freewheeling diode, right? So when during this interval, during discharging period of the inductor, the freewheeling diode comes into picture, and the battery terminal X and Y, where you are going to measure the output voltage of a semi-controlled converter or fully controlled converter, is zero, because the load is short circuited by the diode. So that is why during freewheeling action you will get zero output voltage across it, but during fully controlled converter there is no freewheeling action here, right? Because there is no freewheeling diode, right? And the inductor has to discharge like a positive and negative, right? Since these devices S1 and S2, S3, they are in conduction state, they are already in conduction state. So the current always leaves from L positive to battery to source, S3 positive, anode and cathode, and back to source like this. Similarly, the reversal of current will be something like this. So we will be having some current due to that is a discharging current. You can say the discharging current, and voltage there across the load because it is not short circuited. So that is why you can see the negative peak across the load, right? Similarly, during negative half cycle, also, two devices, they will be in forward bias condition, two devices will be in reverse bias condition. Now you can see S1 and S3, they will be in reverse bias condition because now P should be connected to negative now, negative, and N should be connected to positive. So if that is the case, S1, S3, they are in reverse bias condition. Only S2 and S4, they are in forward bias condition. So if I trigger S2 and S4 at the same time, the current will take the path like this. The current always leaves from positive, N positive, through S4 anode and cathode, inductor, RA, LA, battery, and S2 anode and cathode, and back to the P negative. So this is the direction of current, which is the load is having charging current of the inductor. Now you can see here it is charging current of the inductor. And load is subjected to negative voltage. So even though if here it is negative, here you can see it is negative half cycle, right? But if you see across the load, it is flowing from top to bottom, which is the reference point. So during positive half cycle also, the current is flowing from top to bottom. During negative half cycle also, the current is flowing from top to bottom. That means irrespective of the input supply, the current flowing to the load is from top to bottom, which means you are getting positive voltage across the load. So from that particular point onward, output voltage follows the input voltage, and thereafter the freewheeling diode comes into picture, right? And input current, as you know, right? So when S1 and S3, they are in conduction state, they are carrying negative half cycle. So you can see positive half cycle like this. When S2 and S4, they are in conduction state, they are carrying negative half cycles, right? So this is at alpha equals 60 degrees. Similarly, at alpha equal 90 degrees, you will get the waveform like this, but the reduction in the output current because the output voltage will fall down, right? So load, for the same load, the output voltage will fall down. Due to that one, the current will fall down. The decrement in the output current. So this is for alpha equals 60 and alpha equal to 80 degrees. Now, if you know the output voltage waveform, then you can derive what is the average output voltage for the given load, for a given converter, right? Now, this is fully controlled converter. Now I can say this is alpha and this is pi plus alpha. So from alpha to pi plus alpha, we are having some voltage across the load, right? You can see EA, alpha to pi plus alpha. Similarly, from pi plus alpha to 2 pi plus alpha also we are having some voltage. Again, EA equal to IRA plus LA dA by dt. Because this is due to the armature equivalent circuit where it is having armature resistance, armature inductance, and the battery voltage. So this is the voltage across this three terminal is EA. So if I apply KVL in this loop, you will get this expression, right? Now, if you see the waveforms, all the thyristors, they are connected, they are switched symmetrically. So if they are symmetrical, which means this area during positive half cycle is same as the area during negative half cycle. So these are symmetrical. So I can consider only the positive half cycle because they are symmetrical. If they are not symmetrical, we need to consider complete one cycle, which is of duration 2 pi interval. Since they are symmetrical waveforms, now I can consider only the one half cycle. That is why the average output voltage across the load is 1 by pi, because we are considering only one positive half cycle. And the integration from alpha to pi plus alpha, because from alpha to this pi plus alpha, we are getting output voltage across the load. So we assume that the inductor is having sufficient value so that we are getting continuous input current, continuous output current. So this magnitude instantaneous voltage is very with respect to omega t, which is Vm sin omega t. So now I can take, I can consider, I can take Vm common, it is Vm by pi. Integration of the sin omega t will be minus cos omega t. The limits are alpha to pi plus alpha. So if you substitute these values in this expression, you will get the average output voltage across the load for fully controlled converter is 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. But in case of semi-controlled converter, it is Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha. So now you can get any amount of voltage just by varying the firing angle alpha. Right? That is what we are going to see in the next slide. Now here you can see, just now we have seen in case of fully controlled converter, we derived the output voltage. It is 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. Now alpha is the firing angle. So at alpha equal to 0, it will be cos 0, it is 1. You will get a 2 Vm by pi only. So here you can see at alpha equal to 0 degrees for semi-controlled converter, sorry, fully controlled converter. And for semi-controlled converter, if you read the expression, it is Vm by pi into 1 plus cos alpha. Right? At cos alpha, alpha equals 0. Cos 0, it is 1. 1 plus 1, it is 2. It is 2 Vm by pi. Right? So the same point you can see here. Similarly, at alpha equal 90 degrees. At alpha equal 90 degrees, cos 90, what happens? Cos 90 is 0. Cos 90 will be 0. Right? So 0 multiplied by something will be 0. So you can see for fully controlled converter, the curve will be something like this. Right? Here, if you substitute alpha equal to 90 degrees, cos 90, it is 0. 1 plus 0 into Vm by pi cos alpha. So we'll get half of the input voltage at alpha equal 90 degrees. This is for semi-controlled converter. Similarly, at alpha equal to 180 degrees, cos 180, it is minus 1. So minus 1 plus 1. So this whole factor goes to 0. So you can get in case of semi-controlled converter at alpha equal to 180 degrees, you will get 0. Right? But in case of fully controlled converter, cos 180, it is minus 1. So it will be minus 2 Vm by pi cos. So you can see it is minus 2 Vm by pi. So that means by varying the firing angle alpha from 0 to 180 degrees, you can control the terminal voltage across the armature terminals. Right? And one more conclusion you can see here. So for the same firing angle alpha, 45 degrees, the voltage in case of fully controlled converter is less here. It will be. But in case of fully semi-controlled converter, it will be this much. Right? Similarly, at fixed firing angle alpha, the voltage via fully controlled converter is this much, which is less when compared to the semi-controlled converter. So these are the conclusion we need to see here. Right? So now here you can see, and if you recall the previous slides, we derived that the speed equal to EA minus IA RA divided by KFI, right? So where EA equal this much, it is 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. This is for fully controlled converter. In case of semi-controlled converter, it was Vm by pi 1 plus cos alpha. So here instead of E, I can substitute the 2 Vm by pi cos alpha. Right, and this is separate like that a DC motor. So this is a torque expression which is KB phi into IA. So from this one, IA I can write as torque divided by K. So instead of IA here in this case, I can substitute torque divided by KB phi. So the overall expression for torque in terms of overall expression for speed in terms of torque will be something like this. This 2m by 2m cos alpha divided by KF phi into pi minus torque divided by KB phi square into RA. So for separate excited DC motor, flux is constant and Ka, Kb both are constant. For a designed machine, RA is also constant. So here flux is constant, this factor is also constant, Vm is constant. So the only factor it is cos alpha. So by varying the alpha from 0 to 180 degrees, you will get different values of speed, right? So now you can see now you can see here, you can see at alpha equals 0, you will get the speed is same for both semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. In both the cases we have seen at alpha equals 0, it is 2m by pi 1 plus cos 2m by pi, the magnitude is 2m by pi, right? So that is why you can see this curve. And in case of semi-controlled converter, if you see for same value of firing angle alpha, we have seen in the last slide that if alpha is same, the voltage generated by the semi-controlled converter is more when compared to fully controlled converter. That is why the speed is more in case of semi-controlled converter, you can see, but it is less in case of fully controlled converter. Similarly, if you further increase the firing angle alpha to 60 degrees, there is reduction in the armature voltage, right? If the armature voltage reduces, then the speed can be reduced like this. So this is the semi-controlled converter at alpha equals 60, and this is for fully controlled converter where alpha equals 60, right? Similarly, at alpha equal 90 degrees, semi-controlled converter will be having some value, but in case of fully controlled converter, you will get 0. You will get 0 because it is Vm by pi into cos alpha, cos 90, it is 0. So the whole factor will be 0. The terminal voltage will get 0, and there is no speed, right? So this is the overall conclusion about the speed torque characteristics variation at different values of firing angle like alpha equals 0, 30, 60, 90, and all, right? So with this, I am going to stop here. Then in the next video lecture, we will discuss about the series motor connected through semi-controlled converter and fully controlled converter. Thank you.